Hi, good morning, everyone. And welcome to a new program where we examine the birth charts of celebrities, sports figures, politicians to find out what makes them tick. I'm Donna Saul with astrologer Francis Dunnery, and you are listening to Behind the Curtain. Many of you may know Francis Dunnery as a chart-topping musician who's toured with some of the biggest names in music history. But what you might not know is the power of his astrology readings. His expertise is deeply influenced by top psychologists, philosophers, mythological perspectives, and Eastern philosophies. You can book him at francisdunneryastro.com or at moonstoneandsage.com. Today we're not only talking about the energies of the sky we're living under, but we are talking about Diana, Princess of Wales. And as Eric reminded me, who? He kills me every week. I said, Eric, give me somebody we can talk about that you actually remember. It's like, who? I know. He's brutal. And he says it with a straight face, too. So Diana was born into British nobility and grew up close to the royal family, almost like stalkering from the start, right? In 1981, while working as a nursery teacher's assistant, she became engaged to Charles, the eldest son of Queen Elizabeth II. This is for your benefit, Eric. And their wedding took place in July of 1981. That made her the Princess of Wales. They separated in 1992. And the breakdown of their relationship was public knowledge. Diana died in August of 1997. I can't even say those numbers anymore. 1997, after a car crash in Paris. It led to extensive public mourning, global media attention, and her legacy left a lasting impact on the royal family, British society, and the public at large. There's so much more to her story. Like, I had to really kind of chop at it, so for those of you invested in Diana, I apologize, but there it is in a nutshell.
Oh, so, I apologize because we're going to be evil.
I know. Oh, I love it. I'm all here. I'm here for this, Francis. I am here for this because I have my own opinions, right? I mean, I never understood this whole buying into this Diana mystique because she always struck me as somebody who wasn't what she appeared to be, right? So I don't know. Do you want to start there, or you want to start with Diana and then we'll back into the astrology? Or do you want to do the astrology?
You're going to, because you want to, the second segment, the 20-minute segment, you want that about her because she's a very interesting girl. If you want to know about what's going on in the sky now, it's better to go that way because if we run out of time on Diana, you're going to be not happy.
So we're starting with Diana.
Well, there's a lot to say about her, like a
all
lot.
Right, well,
she's a very interesting character.
So, all right, give me a couple sentences. One, Mars is kicking my butt, and two, new moon in Scorpio today.
We've got a new moon in Scorpio, yeah. Well, I think what's more important is first we've got Mercury retrograde now, right? So Mercury's just gone retrograde.
Right.
So but that is, you can kind of get things a bit, muddled up, and during Mercury retrograde, like things break down. Like my air fryer went on the second day, like just stuff like that, or like you booked something, or blah blah blah. It's that. But then Saturn has been retrograde now. This is the real stuff that you don't realize, right? There's things you know, and there's things you don't know, and there's things you don't know that you don't know, and people don't know that Saturn and those outer planets retrograde are far more imposing than what Mercury is. Mercury's, like I said last week, like a little high-pitched squeak, like, ee! But the Saturn, the outer planets are like, and they're governing your life. And so this undertone, which is, or a feeling tone, like feeling tones are really interesting for this conversation too, because a feeling tone is like the zeitgeist or the feeling in which we operate in. And we live in feel, like if you live in an apartment, the person, and you walk in your apartment and you walk in the person next door's apartment, it feels completely different. It's a whole, and even though you're only a few feet away, that's what feeling tones are. So feeling tones are a projection of consciousness into the space that you're in. And the seasons have them. The spring feels different than the summer, feels different than the fall, feels different than the winter. So these feeling tones, so Saturn retrograde sends out a real deep feeling tone. And it's uneasy, it makes us uneasy. But great news today is that on the 28th, Saturn goes direct, which means it no longer be retrograde then, which is a fantastic news for everybody. And it's been in Aries, so it stopped us doing things. Things were being held back. We've had bags of cement to carry and being held back. That's going to start to move on the 28th. Then, on the 29th, Mercury goes direct, so you won't even have the high-pitched squeak, like, wee! So your life will be without, right? And then, but Jupiter is retrograde for a little while, so then that goes into retrograde, so that's going to be your a hope drain. But round on the 10th of December, Neptune goes direct, and that's another big hitter. So that's going to also another great feeling tone of going forward. And then up until, and I won't bore you with it, but up until March of next year, once March hits, everything's forward movement then, because there's been a lot holding us back. Why was I telling you that though? Why was I telling you that? Was I telling you that for the reason?
Skies that we're living under.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. And the new moon, it's it's just what it says. It's like it just depends who you are under the new moon. Like a new moon under Scorpio. I mean, you could say all sorts of things about it, but then there's so many other things influencing them.
Yeah, bigger.
Like deeper than that at the same time. And this is what I don't like about astrology. Like the regular thing about astrology is like everything can just be, the moon's fast moving. It's more like your moods. It's more like the moods you're in, or those outer planets. They're the ones that really affect people. Like when you get, like now that Pluto is in Aquarius, and it is going to be for like the next 30 years or something, that is a revolution from top to bottom. And I actually wrote a song about that in 1998, about 2023, which was the revolution, because us astrologers could see that Pluto was going into Aquarius. And so that's going to change everything. We got AI, everything's changing.
Wow.
The entire ground that we're standing on is changing. So it's like when Bob Dylan started singing, you better run or you'll sink like a stone. You've got to go along with it. You can't resist it. It's pointless. The old won't work. Whatever the new voices are, that's what's going to come in. So you've got to kind of adapt yourself in a certain way to that, because that's what's going on. And and that feeling tone of change is, everybody's terrified. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it makes people uneasy. Everything's uneasy right now.
Here's a great statistic for you. This is a very interesting astrological statistic. When Saturn goes into Cancer, when it goes into Cancer, then people start buying real estate because they feel emotionally uneasy, like it has a feeling of that. So real estate, based on how much the planet is affecting your security issues, and how much you can deal with that, people start buying real estate when the ground starts shifting beneath their feet. People start looking for something solid they can grab onto. So statistically, the housing market goes up. When there's a whole thing as well with astrological, financial astrology, which is fascinating. We should talk about that one day as well. That's a really good conversation. But for now, my final shot is people can look forward to the next 3 or 4 months, because things are going to start to move forward now, and it's going to that
finally, yeah.
unease is going to shift.
That is so good to know. We're going to take a break here from our sponsors. When we come back, we're going to dive into Diana, Princess of Wales, and see what's behind the curtain, right? Stay tuned. Welcome back to Behind the Curtain. I am Donna Saul with astrologer Francis Dunnery. We're going to be talking about Diana, Princess of Wales. What's behind the curtain? Or wait. We have to wait to get to that point, right? So tell us about Diana, please.
We can go. So here's the thing. So she's got the Sun in Cancer and she's got Mercury in Cancer. And it's in the 7th house. So what that means is, it means she's always looking for somebody to take care of her. She's got a complex relationship with her father. She was looking for a father to take care of her, really. That's what she wanted. But she didn't see life as her being in control of her own destiny in ways. It was always, she always felt it was for somebody else. The Cancerians look for security. So you'll often find Cancerians kind of nestled in somewhere in like a little kind of unit or a family, or they've managed to get themselves in a secure position where their security can't be assaulted.
Yeah, it happens.
What?
She sure did.
Yeah, like that. But now here's the big rub. Here's one of the big rubs on her. She's got the moon in Aquarius, and Jupiter in Aquarius in the second house, in the financial house, and Saturn in Aquarius as well. So that's a really complex situation. First of all, her freedom was paramount to her, even though she did so this is where the difficulty is. The freedom versus the family thing, because she's got both of those. Her moon, her emotional needs were dependent upon her having her freedom. The Puella Eternus, the eternal girl, she felt like a little child. She never felt she ever grew up. And indeed, she wouldn't have looked old now. She wouldn't have got old, this girl. She never would. So she was incredibly progressive in a sense, because she would allow people to be free, because that guaranteed that she could be free. So even though she was a Cancerian, and they are absolute, like family people, her moon was the opposite of that. She didn't want responsibility for any finances. She wanted somebody else to take care of it. She just wanted to be in it. And so that's the first thing. That's the first real kind of rub there. And she's looking for people to take care of her, and she doesn't want to be responsible for her own financial self. Her freedom was what she valued. That was her main values. Her moon, Jupiter, and Saturn were all in the second house like that. And so her values were, because it looked like her values were, I'm a family person, and I'm not at all. Now, when people have affairs, the guy or the girl who's having the affair often get the blame, but it's often the other person who forces the issue. People don't talk about this enough. They always think like, oh, she cheated on him. Well, actually, no. Unconsciously, he was forcing her out all the time. And he didn't want to take the blame for it. And so she was the one who got the blame for it. I don't mean Diana, I just mean like in general. And so she was one of those where from day one, she was never ever going to be in that relationship. She always wanted out. She wanted to guarantee her security and then get out.
Oh, wow.
And it was always that way. And so a lack of intimacy, or a lack of whatever it was. And she even said, because I remember Liz Green talking about her years ago. She said she was the most manipulative person she'd ever seen in her entire life.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
yes,
so she was just deeply manipulative, like completely manipulative. And she even said on her wedding day, when I walked down the aisle, I felt like a lamb to the slaughter. So she was doing all that. And there's a martyr in here as well, which I'll get to in a second. And so she had this like obsession with her own freedom. So once she guaranteed her security, because it looks one way, doesn't it? It looks one way. It looks like, it looks like she's
like poor Diana. Oh my God.
Poor Diana and all that stuff.
Yes.
But in essence, she had manipulated that. She had Venus in the fifth house, which meant she was narcissistic beyond belief, and it was based upon how much she had and how much she could get. And that square, she has a square from Venus in the fifth house, which is her narcissism and her affairs, basically, squaring her freedom needs. And so there was something with her narcissism or her her affairs, which would stop her freedom. Like she couldn't be free to do it because of the position she'd put herself in. And then I'm trying to be quick here, sorry, Donna. And I go to the top and I see Uranus in the 8th house. So she wouldn't, in Leo, so she would always date people who were unusual. Like this is the Scorpio house. This is her intimacy stuff. So she wouldn't look at you unless you had a load of money, basically. Or no, I'll rephrase that, unless you were someone.
Okay.
You had to be a prominent figure, otherwise you just wouldn't go. Like it wouldn't be an issue. No, you just wouldn't even get in there. And then he is one of the kickers here. Mars in Virgo, conjunct Pluto in Virgo. This is a real cruel, and a real cruel energy. It can be very, and I would say she was at the mercy of this. I don't think she did this. I would say she put herself in, and it's also, and I don't want to frighten anybody saying this, but there's an alarming amount of people who have suffered a violent death with that placement. It's in the 8th house, remember, the Scorpio house of death, and so the Mars in Virgo, which is a massive control freak, it's like an S&M thing. You will do this. Like when you date people with Mars in Virgo, they won't even make you a cup of tea or anything. You have to do what they say. You know, they get off on it. You know, like Gordon Ramsay, he's got Mars in Virgo. You know, he screams at all the people. And it's that energy. It's that type of energy. Or like John Mellencamp, them type of guys, they're really strict. Like, you know, like they're screaming at people. So she had that coming at her. So this like S&M thing where she would play this little one and they would play the monster.
Yeah.
You know, like there was that S&M where they made her do things, or she would look, you know, she would look for those relationships, at these powerful figures that dominated her, because she got off on it. Man. She was getting off on being dominated. Like that's again, this is in a house. This is in a intimacy house, a sexual house. She got off on it. That's what she would get off on that. And here's how long we got left?
10 minutes, according to Eric.
10 minutes. So, and so that's going on, but everything goes through behind the curtain. Here we go, the martyr. This is an absolute martyr, and she's a religious figure, this girl. She's like literally like a religious figure. She ended up being like a saint.
I know, it's weird.
And she's got Neptune, you know, Neptune in the 10th house, and so her career really was that of a martyr, of a saint. She was really a saint. Now, when you look at people, there's certain people with these type of placements. You get them maybe like Tori Amos or Morrissey or who else has that? Stevie Nicks is like that. The people just get obsessed with them. They have this like weird type of aura that people just get absolutely obsessed with. And they base their lives on them. And you know, have you ever seen those people? Yeah. She was one of those.
Yeah.
And so she became a canvas for the projection of the collective, of a bunch of collective people. She was a canvas of everybody could identify with her, because they all felt that a little bit of that. Oh, I can't, you know, maybe one day people will appreciate me. We all have that running around in us somewhere. We all have a Neptune running around, and people recognized her through that. They recognized these big forces that this poor little tragic creature would succumb to and would be beaten down by, and they did it to her, and she's not, and look at how shy she is, and the big nasty royal family are doing this and they're doing that, without understanding that she manipulated the entire thing that way. And a lot of it isn't even unconscious. So again, you know, there's no point judging this stuff. This is just, it isn't a case of like she's good or she's bad. No, it isn't. It's not a case of that. It's just to understand that the way that the psyche works, it's fascinating when you watch it, when you look at a chart and then you look at the life and you think, wow, look at how the weed got through the concrete. She managed to express that it's such ingenious ways that we managed to express it. I mean, when I sit here now, I've got the moon in the 3rd house in Sagittarius, so I'm going to broadcast philosophical optimism. I've always done it no matter what. That's just what I do. That's what my moon does. But if you go back and look at my life where I started off, nobody would have said that I'd be sitting here on a radio station in, you know, well, it's actually worldwide. We're broadcasting worldwide. Nobody would have said that. But look at how my psyche managed to make that happen.
Yeah.
Even in the face of being a rock star and all that stuff, I wasn't even interested, because I wanted to tell my stories and do, you know, it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So she managed all that. She managed all that, to do all that, without even thinking about it once. It just came around that way. The same as like when I look at your chart, I look at anybody else's chart, you can see it's like, oh, look at how the weeds managed to get through the concrete. That's the way I always see it. I always see the weeds got through the concrete. Like my mother, for instance, had a need. She had a 5th house moon, so she wanted to go on the stage. But back then, when she was younger, you know, that wasn't really something that people did in the north of England. Like, it just wasn't. It was like if you went to London, which is like 300 or 400 miles away, and like went onto Broadway or something like that, you were a one-off. Hardly anybody did that. Most women back then, from my mum's age, they looked after the kids, and they you know, they might have done a cleaning job or, you know, something like that for an extra few quid. But my mother would talk about having her own shop. And it's the shop that was, she always wanted, she fantasized about having this shop. The shop was just a Broadway stage where she was the center of attention. And so the psyche finds ways to do itself. It's incredible, like how he does it. You see what I mean? And so when I look at charts, it's like, look at how the weeds got through the concrete. It's like, so even how the hell did she manage to be a martyr, given she was living in a palace with billions of dollars, with gold carriages, with white horses, with every privilege under the sun? She still managed to be perceived as a martyr.
And being narcissistic and manipulative and cruel.
She still got to be a martyr.
Crazy. I know, crazy. It never worked for me. I never understood this whole Diana thing. I looked at her in a very different way. I feel a little vindicated, I will tell you. But it is fascinating. I mean, like, how does that happen? How does that happen? The planets have that strong a pull on us. Crazy.
A blue flower is blue.
Yeah.
And does it have to do anything to be blue? No, it just is. So these behavioral patterns, it would seem that we manifest the time of year we were born, like that particular time of year we're born, we become a physical manifestation of that, and we find ways to express these things in the most brilliant ways. Like when you look at people's charts, like Charles Manson or blah, you can see how it manifested, and it's like, oh my God, like it's actually. It was one of the things that got me into astrology, because I went into it as an absolute non-believer. I was more into like quantum physics and Gary Zukov and like Lawrence Krauss and like all these guys. I loved all that. I loved it, like the kind of the whole, there was a great book called The Dancing Wu Li Masters that talked about molecules, and it fascinated me. So the concept of astrology was nah. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, and I just kind of, it was actually my friend, my manager at the time, Bruce. He bought me this book by this Jungian psychologist for Christmas, for my birthday, called A New Look at an Old Devil, and it was about the planet Saturn, and it was by this Jungian psychologist called Dr. Liz Green, who's my idol. I mean, she's like my rock star. She's the most intelligent human being I've ever encountered in my life, and from that point on, I couldn't believe what they were saying, and I was just like, because I was reading about myself, and I was like, there's like no way anybody could know that. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, come on, how can you know that? And it wasn't like easy things. And so when I look at charts now and I see how like from Lady Diana Spencer, even the fact that, she found somebody to take care of her. Right?
Yeah.
She didn't want the responsibility. Like, that's absolutely on her chart. Like, it's completely on her chart. Like, it isn't like you interpret it kind of this way, or it's a bit like, it's absolutely 1,000,000,000% that. You could give it to an astrologer who's got 6 months astrology practice, or somebody who's like 60 years. They'll say the same thing. This is somebody who's looking to be taken care of, who's looking for security outside of themselves, who wanted somebody else to provide their security, who didn't want the responsibility. They were like she's like a little child, the Puella Eternus. She lived in the future. She was an idealist. One day I'm going to get married, and one day it's going to be fantastic, and one day it's going to be great. And then she's got that S&M thing on the side where she's needing to be dominated. And so that complexity, that's what makes her fascinating. And then to top it all off, behind the curtain, she's a martyr. And she found a way, which to me is astounding. She found a way in all her, being born in Sandringham, which is really uppity, and she found a way to be a saint. She's a saint. She ended up being a saint. She still is. She's held as a saint.
I know, weird. Completely weird. And when you were talking about, like, she wanted all of those things, wanted to be taken care of, but she wanted her freedom, but she only wanted to be taken care of to cash out, to get her freedom. But then the way she's structured astrologically, she locks herself into not having her freedom, right? I mean,
that's the S&M bit.
Yeah.
That's that. Like, so you look at the different energies in her, the different feeling tones that are coming out. That she's found ways to express them all. She had the freedom one. She had the S&M one. She had the take care of me thing. She had the martyr thing. She had the narcissist. It was astounding how she, without making a conscious choice, got all those things out on the table.
So what do you think? You're at the mercy of the planets, really? I mean, whatever those things are that are in your chart, as these planets move around the sun, whatever is presenting itself will naturally take you on that path that you are meant to fulfill, right?
You know, I'm not one to kind of commit to anything to say I know what it is. I'm not that arrogant, unfortunately. You know, I don't think like that. I just think it's a lens, like you can look at life. Mm-hmm. Now, astrology is like a lens. I don't know physically what happens, or I know that when I look at people's charts, there's no way after 35 years I can look you in the eye right now and say there's nothing to this astrology thing, because it's insane. It's like absolutely insane, and it's against my initial judgment of like, don't be so stupid, idiot. You know, I was one of them. It's insane. But you know what the actual dynamics of life, you know, is, or what the planets going around. I honestly don't know, and I'm not really one of them that bothers to know. I just don't. I just know. I look at the chart and I talk to people, and I think it's and I haven't had any complaints so far.
No,
well, I did in the beginning when I got a chart wrong at the beginning, but that's about it.
No, you definitely make it fascinating. We're out of time. We have a special request from Eric. If the chart's interesting enough, Britney Spears, somebody he actually knows and remembers, quote unquote. All right, we got to wrap it up. Listeners, you've been listening to Behind the Curtain. I am Donna Saul with Francis Dunnery. He will be doing astrology readings at Moonstone and Sage's special event, the Winter Magic Market, on Saturday, November 29th. So come on in, get your slot, first come, first served. You can also reach him at francisdunneryastro.com. And we're going to see you next week. We'll touch base on whether Britney Spears is up to speed, Eric, and can do 20 minutes. She might just be boring. Wouldn't you be disappointed? He said yes.
She's a Sagittarius, I think. I think she is.
Listen, he's hanging a lot of hope on this, Francis. Don't crush it on him.
It's great if he knows it. He'll be able to tell us if it's true.
He'll tell us next week. He's telling me to wrap it up. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you.